When I describe global to someone who's never heard of it before, I think you always have to start with that it's just a 4-year study abroad program, and that is gonna ask so many questions. That starts the whole like slew of questions of what does that even mean and where did you live?
It's honestly so hard to put it into words because it's such a unique experience. So I typically always say like it was an international school, and every semester I lived and studied in a different country, and just gained experiences and perspectives that I wouldn't have considered otherwise.
You can look around the entire internet and you will not find, as I did, you will not find another program like Global.
Everything that you learn about and that you read about, you go see, you go do. You go talk to the people who made the decisions, who are affected by the decisions.
Even if you don't know what you want to do at all, there's something for everyone that's going to interest them, whether it's government, politics, environmental work, history. There's such a vast variety of classes that you can find the niche for you.
And then we're able to curate our own thesis research in any topic that we are interested in.
You have professors on site in each location, and you build relationships and travel with your cohort.
What makes it so different from every other university is that it's not like we're out here partnering with other places and taking courses at other universities. We are around the world with our faculty, our staff, our students, our centers, and it allows for students, yes, within the LIU Global umbrella, but also within Brooklyn and Post to have these incredible experiences that other students would be trying to transfer credits and trying to get their scholarships transferred. It is truly a global campus in such an exciting way.
So I think a core part of LIU Global is the fact that students spend a year at a time in different regions of the world. And in those regions, while they're often based in 1 or 2 countries, they travel to many more.
The program is set up in 4 years, with each year living in different countries.
My first year was in Costa Rica, my second year was in Europe, my third year was in Australia, and then I went back. I chose to go back to Austria for my internship semester, and then we all ended in New York.
The workload increases steadily, the complexity of information increases steadily. The importance of the information that you're learning stays the same the entire time because they don't waste your time. You only learn about things that are relevant and real.
Global studies as an academic discipline is new in a sense, and I don't think it is well articulated or well defined. But I would say it is, again, the thinking about big problems in small measures. In other words, how does a global issue manifest in a particular environment, a particular location, and in a particular context that is people-centered, if you like.
We study a range of things from politics to economics, environmental science, history, culture, language, indigenous studies.
And as part of that process, they don't become experts in any one disciplines, but they have the ability to engage with and interact with across the disciplines. And so there's a lot of disciplinary and epistemological translation that's part of the work of global studies.
I also like to liken it to the quote, "A jack of all trades is a master of none, but still is better than a master of one." I feel like I have an understanding and a grasp on many different things, and I might not have had a degree on linguistics or a degree in economics or culture or something, but I have a really firm grasp on a lot of different topics and how they all overlap, interconnect. And do I have an army of geese behind me?
So every year you get to look at the country that you're in, and you get to look at the issues that said country or community is facing and find local solutions.
And what's nice about global studies too is that our students finish with this capstone research. And a global studies major allows them, with the minors as well, allows them to kind of find their own way through that project and through that process.
An entire class of people come into the degree wanting something different out of it. And so everybody comes with a different interest, a different desire as far as a career path. I was looking for some alternatives to a very traditional college experience that could help me be in the world and learn from the world, not just about it.
I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with my life. I think at 18, asking someone to like figure out exactly what they want to do and commit to a major is like so incredibly daunting.
I mean, I'm sure it's the same as pretty much everyone else, the traveling aspect to some extent.
I always knew I wanted to travel the world, but being able to get a degree at the same time is a really good 2-for-1 deal.
It offered me the opportunity to get a really good education while traveling at the same time. I wasn't going to have to sacrifice one thing or the other.
It was really my dream school. I just didn't know that it existed.
But I was like, it seems too good to be true. I've always wanted to see, to see the world.
And then when I found out that it was a actual global studies program, I immediately accepted it.
I was like, this sounds like exactly what I've been looking for.
Kind of ever since then, I knew I wanted to do it.
And I was blown away by what LIU Global was. And I was like, I'm applying here.
I don't think I really was able to get it out of my mind, kind of always knowing that if I didn't go for it, then I would regret it for the rest of my life.
I feel like I just took the leap. Like I wasn't really sure what it would look like or how it would be. I was nervous for sure to just show up in a random country, not having met any of my classmates before, not knowing anything about anything really.
I really tried not to think about it or else I would just like get nervous. So I was just like, let's just like blank slate this. It's a new start.
I wanted to be surprised. I was ready to embrace everything that the program had to offer.
I don't think at the time I fully understood what it took to live in another country and to be like immersed in a language that's not your own.
At first it was hard, of course, like being that far away from home, I think is difficult just to begin with, and then doing it alone and having to start college at the same time and just learn a place that, operates in a different language and just in a completely different way.
I think a lot of my expectations for what the classes would look like, the different immersions we would do into the community and the field trips, that was definitely what I expected and what was reached, and that was great.
I didn't know how much it was going to be like experiential versus in-classroom learning, and it turns out that there's a very good balance of both. And then even when you're doing experiential learning, it's just as hard, if not harder, than learning in the classroom, because it's like, okay, we'll still learn something out in the field, but still got to find time to write that essay.
The real experiences that I'm having are informing kind of what I know, rather than getting all of my work and ideas from a book.
So the first year in Costa Rica is designed to really set the students up for a successful and positive 4-year experience and beyond.
We are trying to get them in Costa Rica to understand the initial beginnings of how to research, the initial beginnings of how to write successfully and to write for impact, and then also to begin exploring that global studies major that we've been talking about, and really to look more deeply into economics as well as the environment and sustainability, which are some of the lenses that we're looking through.
I think it's a fantastic starting point to be in a very different place, but to be in a safe environment, a well-facilitated environment, one where there's a lot of care and a lot of close support, so that over the subsequent years, students can step into greater autonomy and independence as their skills and their confidence of navigating a new place grows.
We typically do some long community engagement projects. So what that means is we'll send students for about a week or so out to a kind of mini internship for them to enjoy. That can be with a women's shelter, that can be with a turtle hatchery, it can be with so many different things, but the students pick it based on their interests. So while we're trying to introduce them, to the essay writing and to the research, we're also trying to introduce them into, okay, you're gonna be doing a 15-week internship in an international location your senior year. Let's do a little bit of a practice run on that. So Costa Rica gets them on their feet. We also do a week-long trip to Panama. We go to Gunayala, we go to Limón. So we do kind of these smaller excursions, but within the general area.
Getting to Costa Rica for the first time, everyone was in the same boat. You're all on the same playing field. And so I connected with everybody so much sooner than I ever thought I would. I feel like I made my best friends and close connections there within the first week, just based off of that shared experience of we're all leaving home for the first time.
I was definitely really, really nervous, but the people really, really embraced me and made me feel like this was my new home.
Sarah was there when we arrived and in the airport, and that was very nice.
Oh, Sarah. I love Sarah.
I love that woman so much.
Sarah's absolutely wonderful. I think we're all incredibly thankful to have gotten to be near her and in Costa Rica with her for 2 semesters.
She's just so nurturing and loving and kind.
I think Sarah is the mother of Global.
She's so easy to talk to, which is awesome.
When my mom met Sarah, she was like, oh, I feel fine. I feel fine sending you away. She was like, it's fine. Like, I trust Sarah. And I was like, yeah. I was like, I trust Sarah too.
Sarah and everybody were so enthusiastic about having us here. It felt like I'd been here forever and I was like coming back, you know.
We had a 3-day orientation. So day 1, we got to know each other. We did some icebreakers.
I fully thought that it was just gonna be like we all sit in a circle and sing like, and then first day of Costa Rica, we got there and they put us in a circle and we threw around a mango. So I would say it was pretty on point for what I thought.
They really took us around town to find all the cafes, to see the Universidad Nacional, and to really experience what life is like here.
Every step of the way, I was like, wow, I can't believe I'm here. There would be some days where we would be walking to school and I would like turn around as we're walking and talk to one of my friends and be like, oh my gosh, like we live in Costa Rica.
Starting college in another country was, overwhelming and exciting, and all of the people are new, and so there's a lot of things falling into place at once. There's a lot of newness. There's an entirely new group of people, and so you're trying to make friends and connections for some degree of community and safety pretty early on.
It's not just meeting people on the street, it's meeting people you're going to then potentially spend 4 years with in very close proximity.
I really enjoy the fact that we come from different places and we're all very, very different people. And the fact that you have to try to get along is like such a good life lesson.
Becoming friends with everyone like pretty quickly was so reassuring.
You are best friends with all of them, and then another second it's all enemies, and it's like having 15 siblings.
If you're scared about a small class cohort, like that gives you all the more opportunity to make friends with people in the countries you're going to. You're going to so many countries with so many people to meet, more people than you'll ever meet on a regular campus.
But truly, I could not have asked for a better group of people. Like, literally everyone in my program is unique in their own way, and they're amazing, and they make what I'm doing here worth it.
It is truly a family, and it's such a one-of-a-kind experience.
All the professors from freshman year, their expertise is just next level. Like every class, even though they're 3 hours long, they felt like 5 minutes to me.
In freshman year of Costa Rica, we took a class called the Introduction to Field Research by Dr. Olivia Sylvester.
And in that class, it's basically your first time learning how to do field research. And that is something that becomes very important later on in the degree as you progress to ultimately writing your thesis and doing a really big research paper.
In freshman year, you get to design your own week-long field research project, just a small baby project.
It was really cool. Like, we all kind of got to choose a location or organization around Costa Rica to go to and conduct our research on.
We were tasked with having an intensive field experience week and then writing a paper on that based off of our field work and field notes and interviews and observations.
And it was our first time conducting interviews and asking questions and figuring out how to ask questions.
I think it made me really good at asking questions, just broadly, because you have to be really intentional about where I think you want to lead the conversation.
I didn't really know how to conduct the interview. I think I was maybe being a little bit too friendly, and I was kind of just talking the whole time and wasn't really sticking to the questions. Taking like the field notes and the observations was really fun though, because it was like a whole new layer of like thinking to my everyday life.
Basically, our class was split up, and a couple kids went to the coast. They went to help hatch turtles, I believe.
I chose to go to OSVO, an organization on the beaches of Costa Rica and Samara, where it was volunteers to go help hatch baby turtles.
We released like 200 sea turtles at sunset, and it was like the most magical little experience ever.
Another group went with me. We went to work at a restaurant called La Oruguita, which is Caterpillar. And so it was this Caterpillar-shaped restaurant. It was women-owned, and we basically lived with the women that owned the restaurant and helped them paint it for about a week.
Recently, 2 of the other people in my cohort and I went to the Boruga Indigenous Territory. I was researching how they preserve their culture through the arts, because the arts is really important to them. They do textile and mask making.
I was able to just live with this Indigenous woman and be able to interact with her friends, her connections, and the whole community.
At the community level, I was able to not only stay with the family and eat meals with them, but also work with one of the nearby schools and did some work with them. And, even as simple as painting, a school fence, it carries a lot of weight in, how you engage with other people and places. And that's what I really liked.
The project that I was doing was with this local women's group in Los Tables.
I went to the Cloud Forest School in Monteverde in Costa Rica, and we were only there for a week, so not nearly enough time there, but we stayed with host families, and it was so amazing.
During our community engagement project, my group went to Cielo Verde in Costa, Costa Rica, which is a farm in the mountains in Costa Rica outside San Jose. And we lived on this farm for a week. We woke up very early at 5:30 and we participated in farm work and chores and collecting citrus and harvesting yucca. And all around, it was just really an eye-opening experience.
To have that opportunity to start doing interviews our first semester of college or first year of college, and then to have it kind of build up, this whole research process and research center to our program, it stemmed from, the second that we got there, basically.
For as overwhelming as Global seems in that it culminates in a thesis, because as a freshman you can't possibly imagine writing that many pages or doing a project that long or anything like that, but they really set you up well for it.
Here at the Costa Rica Center, we're really lucky to have some amazing staff that take care of us and are just inspiring mentors.
I just love Dr. Chipembere. That woman can talk about anything, and I'm in awe of her and everything she does.
She was my first teacher, I would say, that made me enjoy writing essays because she let us have a wide variety of topics that we could choose from, and really wanted us to like what we were writing.
We did the Latin American Caribbean Studies class. That was awesome.
There was a field trip that we took to Limón in Costa Rica, which was directly tied in with the class, and we got to learn about the history of Limón, as there's a very strong Afro-Caribbean history there.
And we really got to meet with a wide variety of community leaders that have experience with the history and the knowledge of Limón, but also the culture and the community.
And I really appreciated how our class had prepared us to go on this trip, as we knew a lot about the history of the region, about the history of the people, before we then went and got to kind of build on that knowledge with real life experiences.
I love Dr. Chip. Shout out Dr. Chip.
I loved Sarah's introduction to global studies. You got to learn about kind of the history and origin, not only of our school, but of this type of degree program and this type of degree in itself.
I teach the Road to Success orientation seminar in the fall for the first year students, and I really enjoy teaching that. This is a one-time course to really provide foundational understanding and support and knowledge for resources for the first year students to really equip them with tools and resources for their success.
And then we have Jessica Clark, who is our writing communications teacher.
I love Jessica's class. It's very free-flowing, zen, very zen.
She really makes the world, and especially the internet, a classroom, which I think is a really challenging thing to be able to do. And so her classes are just very engaging.
I've thought also generally that her assignments, her papers have been the most interesting because they give you the most creative freedom and liberty to do what you want to do.
We were looking at creating briefs and potential campaigning ideas for different issues that resonated deeply with us. And for me, that was one of the first times that I could kind of create an idea and really put it to the real world,
A particular class in Costa Rica that stood out to me was my Spanish class.
And those classes were great. Our Spanish professors were so incredible. I think the small group learning that we had too, I was in a class with just 3 other girls, and it was amazing.
Being in class 3 hours every single day, your Spanish improves incredibly very quickly if you are putting in the effort.
My Spanish has improved drastically since living here.
I guess it's improved a lot because I started at 0.
The fact that like whenever you wanted to go out, you had to speak Spanish. Like I think it was so important to be in a place in which the people didn't speak English, like you had to.
While we're taking our Spanish courses, we have to have some community engagement and some communication hours. And one of the options to fulfill these hours is to meet with the host family. And so me and another student share a host mom here in Costa Rica who has just welcomed us into her home time and time again. It's nice to have a mother figure. I think as a freshman, it can be the first time that you're living away from home maybe, and having someone who is a support system where you're just really homesick and you're having a bad day and all you want is some home cooked food, and you go over to your host mom's house and she cooks like the best meal, and she finds out that you're sick and she does all the things that like a Costa Rican abuelita would be doing, and I love it. It's a very heartwarming experience that I think has treated us very well, and we're lucky to have that.
That first year really flies by in an unexpected way, and I think teaches you how to be a student in this program, but also how to hold loosely to your expectations of a place and really be so grateful for what it ends up being and treat that time as precious because it is.
Europe builds on Costa Rica in so many ways.
I feel like it's still the very beginning of a long degree. The second year is kind of when it gets serious. Like, not that the first year was definitely hard, definitely serious, set a lot of important groundwork, but the second year was sort of when it's more the time to just find a focus, find what are you actually into.
At that point, I don't know, you're 19 or 20 and you really feel like you have it all figured out. And so you're like, yeah, I have a handle on this whole global thing now. And then you realize that you don't, but that's also okay.
This European year, we did a lot of travel, and that was very different from having one home base in Costa Rica. And I think that definitely was an adjustment. It was a lot for us to kind of be in that mobility mindset, but it was incredibly rewarding as well to be able to be immersed in so many different cultures at once.
Once they get to Europe, there's a huge emphasis on international relations, on the European Union, on countries that are outside of the European Union that are still in Europe. So you're getting more of that broader scope.
And adds 2 different global lenses, those of culture and politics. And again, taking advantage of the great possibilities of visiting museums, art galleries, cultural institutions across many amazing European countries and cities.
Our students also travel much more during that time. While we are based in certain countries each semester, we do afford the students the opportunity to travel to about 6 to 8 countries during the year, which is really exciting to see. Typically, our students will travel to many more on the weekends and different things. I think we had students who traveled to about 20 countries during this specific year.
For the Europe year so far, with the school, we've gone to Paris, London, and Brussels.
It's also super interesting to have our 8 weeks now in Vienna, and then we have our spring break, our study week, and then we're doing the 10 days in Dingle and the 4 weeks in Scotland.
Vienna has such a special place in my heart. I love Vienna so much. I feel like I grew so much in Vienna that it will always be like a very, very special city for me.
Probably my favorite part about being in Europe and the Europe program in general is, Europe, it's so easy to travel throughout the entire continent.
I gained a lot of independence my Europe year just because we were so free to travel to wherever we wanted, to different countries, every weekend if we wanted.
One of our larger experiential learning activities was when we went to Brussels, and we were there for 1 week.
That was kind of where we finished up our EU intensive course. So we did a lot of work in, simulations, learning about Parliament and all of these different things, the way that the EU really works. And the class itself was very intense because we were all, playing a role and being a country and just seeing how things work and having real life debates representing a country in class was so cool. It was so cool.
We went to the European Union Parliament, as well as a few different small organizations to talk with them. And we did a day trip to Bruges and Ghent as well. It was really exciting because it's definitely a big hub for a lot of government and political sites, and it was very cool going to the parliament and meeting with directors.
To be able to interact with them and just like see their passion was really inspiring and really just transformative to just see that they're trying.
We had 2 weeks in Paris, and that was a real eye-opener, especially in the way some of our classes were introduced. A lot of them focused on topics of nationalism, of social movements, of just the spaces around us and how we interact with them.
If we are in a country for a smaller amount of time, it's usually like pretty intensive courses. You get a lot out of those courses. So yeah, I really enjoy that.
That, I think, has been one of the times where I really got to hone in and focus on, how history and people interact with one another.
Going into your Europe year, depending on whether you live in Austria, or I think upcoming students are going to now be living in France, so they'll be learning French, but you have the opportunity to learn a European language of some sort.
Yeah, starting out in Austria, my favorite classes were German, because that was a language I never thought that I would ever take.
I think the class that stuck with me most from my first semester in Europe was my Politics of Art course. It was so insightful to compare what we're learning about in the classroom and on a massive scale, and seeing this art in real life, because European art is so there's such a wide range of it, and it was very dense. It was super exciting to see all of that and learning about it. My final project at the end of the semester was my favorite in that class, because we had to curate our own exhibition based off of a certain idea.
It kind of made me realize how much I love teaching, because it was also kind of an opportunity for us to teach on something we were passionate about. So yeah, I really enjoyed that, and I felt like I was able to connect with my professor and my peers better from that.
Well, one class I really loved was in Vienna. We took a class on, it was an introduction to diplomacy at the Diplomatic Academy of Vienna.
I had a lot of fun in those classes. I don't know. I love that every week was like it was a different topic.
The diplomats would come in and speak directly to us, and that was who gets that experience? That's so unreal.
We talked to the former ambassador of Iran. We talked to all sorts of really influential people.
The Diplomatic Academy was such a prestigious place, and I loved getting a first-hand glimpse into that world, so I think that was my favorite class.
I think this year is preparing me for what comes next by preparing me with, again, different academic skills and advancing my writing, as well as keeping me on my toes, which is definitely needed for next year.
Being in Europe, having been to the European Union, meeting different peace organizations, I'd say it's prepared me more so as a global citizen and kind of showed me how important it is to be an advocate.
Socially, this is such a unique experience, and that kind of tests me in many ways. So that is absolutely a great way that I'll be able to be prepared for my future. But also academically, the academic rigor and the schoolwork that I'm doing and the way in which I'm doing it is so niche and in such an incredibly valuable way.
Building from Europe to Australia, our students really do get into the serious mode now.
The junior year is the place where these 4 different lenses of global studies that we mentioned earlier that students learn about in Costa Rica, environment and economics, in Europe, cultural studies and political science. This is where we bring them together, and students really learn to work in a holistic, integrated and comprehensive way.
All of our students say that it is their best year, and I think it's because of the fact that that idea of continuing to give them independence and ownership reaches a high point here.
The third year is important, of course, to introducing students to a different part of the world, namely Oceania, so Australia, the Pacific, Southeast Asia, and focusing on those 3 important themes that we cover and that permeate our program in the third year, and that's sustainability, social justice, and Indigenous rights. And so having experiences for students where they spent significant amounts of time learning from and with First Nations communities in all of the countries that we visit, in Australia, in Fiji, in New Zealand, in Indonesia, is a fantastic opportunity for students to experience not just different perspectives, but a whole different way of knowing. And many different ways of knowing, I should say.
After the first 2 years, the first year in Costa Rica and the second year in Europe, I had no idea what we were getting into with Australia.
I joined this program in part because of Australia. I remember on the Zoom call, the open house Zoom call, Soenke was talking about the kids by the campfire and they're just eating kangaroo in the Outback. So I looked forward to eating kangaroo in the Outback for 2 years.
You know, there's a 16-hour flight. It's like 2 days of travel. And so I think I got there and I didn't really compute that I was in Australia yet.
We ran barefoot to the beach, immediately into the water, jet lagged as all hell, sprinted into the water. And I think that set Australia up to be one of the more beautiful years of my life.
They had told us that we would all just be meeting on the beach to like make first introductions and to see people, and I think that was just such a good representation of what the entire program was.
When we first met together as a class, we got to meet all the staff in one place. We were having a picnic on the beach, and it was just so insanely beautiful. There was a cliff face overlooking the area, there was a lighthouse, and the waters were just the bluest I had ever seen.
I really quickly fell in love with the Australia and Asia Pacific Center and approach. It was really, really close to my heart and what I wanted to experience.
I was immediately surprised just by how small of a team runs Australia, but how efficiently and how experienced they all are. Soenke, Nigel, and JJ, they've been with the program for so long and they've seen it go through many changes.
They were all so excited to be there for us, and they just all cared so much about making sure that we just had a really good time and making sure that we always got the most out of it. And I think that that was true throughout the entire process.
From my perspective, when you try to bring someone into this program, you have to be very clear to them, and this is faculty, this is staff, that it's not just going to be teaching your class and calling it a day. The people that we bring into this program have to be great teachers in the classroom and outside the classroom. They have to be great administrators and student affairs professionals who want to make sure that our students stay safe and that they actually want to be engaged with who they are as human beings. And then on that note, they have to be great people, and they have to be really, not necessarily selfless, but they just have to be really empathetic, because we've got a lot of students, we've got a lot of unique personalities, and we want to make sure that people are taken care of. Sometimes you're going to be a teacher, sometimes you're going to be a mom or a dad, sometimes you're going to be a best friend, and that's just how we have to do it. But that's why we're here.
Teachers still and directors still have an important role. They're there to facilitate learning. They're there to ensure students are safe and have a productive learning environment. But it's very much a place where we foster a learning community where none of us hold privileged spaces where we are the knowers and others are the recipient of knowledge, but we are all co-creators of it, and we all play a role in learning together.
It feels like a family. It feels like this nice community where everybody is on first name basis and no one is above each other, no matter if someone has a PhD or you're a freshman. It's very equal.
I think most of the staff, the teachers for Global would say I'm a learner as well. I'm learning with you. And that idea of sharing knowledge and also sharing leadership in the experiential side, I think is really important.
Soenke, Nigel, Sarah, they are global. They've networked so well to create these incredible experiences for us. You cannot duplicate them. You can't replicate them.
I think I got the impression, especially from Soenke, that he was very passionate about his job. This was going to be a year that was very set up and that was planned and that was very well thought out and executed.
The first thing I think of when I think of Soenke is his hat. I'm sure other people have already said that.
He is a top hat wearing, no shoes wearing, honestly, I feel like a mountain man.
A wild, gallivanting mountain man.
He's like Tarzan meets a college professor who's brilliant and so scholarly, but also is going to be climbing mountains and waterfalls.
He is so funny. He's one of the funniest people I think I've ever met. His humor is so dry.
He's such a great leader for the program.
I'm in school right now to become a teacher, and when I think of a good teacher, I think of Soenke.
Soenke is so incredibly smart, and he's so incredibly considerate and compassionate, and he made Australia feel like home.
I think there's so much to learn from him, and I find that really admirable.
I do think he genuinely cares about his students, and he makes that effort to connect with them, which I appreciate.
Yeah, he really does just want what's best for his students.
He also kind of is a Sarah in the sense that he will come come to you, and if he sees that you're down, he'll ask you why, and he'll ask you if you want to talk more about it. He'll ask you to get a coffee with him.
When I think of Nigel, I think of lollies. First of all, how he would always bring them to class for us to snack on. I think that was very sweet. He definitely has that loving grandpa energy, even with us as students, which was awesome.
Nigel was awesome. I loved Nigel.
I really enjoyed Nigel's classes because of how interactive they were. I really appreciated how Nigel would split up the classes between lecture style, group discussion, drawing activities, conceptualizing things on paper.
Nigel's awesome. Nigel is a trip. I'm like, how do you even explain Nigel to someone who's never met Nigel?
He always just has a little joke, which I appreciate.
I love Nigel. Like there's not a bad thing I could say about Nigel.
An easy person to talk to, will listen so attentively and always have, things to share.
He always had something to add to the conversation. I was always interested in what he was going to say.
Nigel was constantly pushing us to ask more questions and find connections that, challenged you so much. And I don't think I've ever been challenged like that in a classroom ever before. It made me so much more of a thorough researcher.
I really am glad that he's been there to support us as well, because my thesis wouldn't be what it was if not for him.
He lives out everything he preaches. He lives out the environmental, the sustainable life that he wants other people to. You don't see that in regular universities. You don't see your professors actively doing the work that they're teaching about.
I think it's just so obvious that Soenke and JJ and Nigel and everyone in the Australia team has really put their heart and soul into that program.
I knew immediately when I got to Australia that it was going to change me as a person, and it was going to change how I thought about things. And that definitely ended up being true.
The Australia program and how it's set up academically and excursion-wise was probably my favorite year of global.
Getting to travel as much as we did and experience as many different locations for the global issues that we were talking about was really, really impactful.
Everything that you do, every single field experience, every single field trip, going to another country, all connects to the classes. They are all deeply integrated with the classes.
Because you'd talk about an issue and then months later you'd be in Fiji and you'd be like, oh, we saw that in the Outback, right? You can see these threads, these global issues as global issues, if that makes sense. You see them in multiple places and in different manifestations, but they all come back to the same roots. And I think the Australia Pacific program really, really illustrated that.
The structure of the Australia year was essentially that we were all based in Byron Bay. We were staying in these lovely beach houses. And then we took a lot of field trips, both hopping around Australia and different countries from there.
You also have trips around Australia to different cities, such as my class went to Melbourne, to Sydney, to Brisbane, Gold Coast. And then you have camping trips.
So we did a camping trip in the Great Dividing Range. We also did a beachside camping trip and one in the Outback. And then internationally, we first went to Fiji for a few weeks. Then at the end of the fall semester, we stayed in New Zealand. And in the spring, probably my highlight of the whole year was we stayed in Bali, Indonesia.
One of the most impactful experiences, not only of my junior year in Australia, but of my life, was my first trip to Fiji with the cohort.
We were staying in a village where we were, first off, fully welcomed in, and which was absolutely amazing. And for the first time really being with host families and having that sense of smaller community, it was just absolutely amazing.
Also just how much joy and laughter and play there was inside of this very academic trip where we're dealing with challenging readings and concepts and things, to just get to play rugby and duck goose and frolic in the ocean and snorkel over the reef.
Cameron and I got the best host family, and then just the food they would bring out was just awesome. Oh my God, just plates and plates of food, fish and potatoes and curry and rice and eggs. And
it was absolutely amazing. And going to all the waterfalls.
Oh, they were so high, and you're standing on this waterfall and you're like, oh my God, I can't do this, but what are you gonna do? You're gonna go back? You jump! You jump!
Those moments of just playing and smiling and laughing with my friends and new friends and being in one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen is something I'll cherish forever.
And my favorite international trip that year was to New Zealand. So we spent 2 weeks in New Zealand.
We lived with an indigenous Maori man and his family on multiple different marae throughout much of the North Island.
It was one of the most transformative experiences because we spent quite a few days at the marae in Wanganui before we went on the river trip, and to kind of learn the customs and the proper process to enter a space and to exist there. And then for the river trip,
it was like a week of being in a canoe with my friends and using our life jackets as pillows in the tents at night.
That's one of the craziest experiences that I've gotten to have, is canoeing down the Wanganui River. We'd camped in between. Every night we would put all of our stuff on our back and trudge up a giant hill and set up tents in a random field, and someone would cook us dinner.
Spending time around the campfire with Maori stewards of knowledge and culture, learning about Maori tradition and New Zealand history and all of those incredible things in some of the most beautiful spaces the country has to offer.
I'm not an outdoorsy person, so it was personally challenging for me, but in a wonderful way. And getting to learn about the rights the river had was really special, and especially getting to be able to be on it and learn from the people we were with.
It was actually something that I saw when I first applied to Global. It was on the website, and I remember standing in my living room and being like, this is so cool that they do this. And then I remember being in New Zealand being like, oh my God, here I am 3 years later, and I'm more engaged and more excited and more well-rounded than I ever thought I could be 3 years ago when I just thought the pictures were really cool.
We got to go on the most amazing walks and hikes. We did the Tongariro crossing.
It's sort of one of New Zealand's most famous walks with beautiful landscapes of stark sort of volcanic peaks that you traverse. But I think what made it special for us was not only seeing these amazing sights in person, traversing them, being able to scramble up rocky surfaces together with others, but rather having one of our Maori friends and colleagues, Ash Patea, with us, who provided a whole different dimension to this experience than we would otherwise have, because he told us stories of those mountains and the role that they played, the importance for the Wanganui River in New Zealand, where we spent a lot of our time as a program, and sort of seeing the symbiosis of people and place in those stories while being there, while seeing the sulfuric lakes emit smoke, seeing unreal colors, walking over many, many peaks, thinking we've made it to the end, and then there's another 45 minutes to go, another few kilometers to traverse. But to do that as a group and to do that with the most local of knowledge possible and imaginable was just a thoroughly transformative experience for us as faculty and staff as much as for our students.
My favourite class would definitely be the Entrepreneurship, Social Enterprise, Sustainability and Cross-Cultural Collaboration, particularly honing in on the collaborative time that we spend in Bali with Balinese, Indonesian students.
We partner with a Balinese university, Indigenous University, and work on a 10-day experiential educational program with Balinese students.
And we got to design locally based social entrepreneurships that could be applied to their own communities, and we got to work collaboratively with them.
Overall, that's my favourite period. So it's sort of just one component of the course, but I think that collaborative process is definitely the highlight for me as a teacher.
That cross-cultural collaboration was exactly what I wanted Global to be. I feel like it was Global personified of what it like met all my expectations.
It allows you to see a side of Bali that is hidden to almost every other foreigner. And I'm very grateful that I did my first couple weeks in Bali with university, because they made those connections ahead of time.
We got to stay in a lot of beautiful towns. First, we stayed in Ubud, where we worked with students at Undeknas for our social entrepreneurship class. And then we moved up to Pemutaran, which is a smaller fishing village. And from there, we got to have such wonderful experiences snorkeling. We went on these boats around a nearby island. It was a small island. And it was just probably the best snorkeling that we had in our whole global experience. And we did a lot of snorkeling. And it was also a really nice experience because we were all working together to kind of pick up any trash or litter that we saw on the coral reef. So we tried to leave a positive mark on the space as much as we could. So that was a really good experience.
We took a class called Climate Change and Marine Management in Byron Bay, taught by our professor Josh.
Oh my God, I just loved it. We're going snorkeling here, and then we're talking about the environmental impacts, and it was just awesome.
So much of our class was doing sort of lecture space slideshows on the science of pretty much just earth science, a refresher on how the winds work, how the ocean moves, the currents, and then also how global warming is affecting us and all of that. And then the other portion of this class was actually going out on the boat and snorkeling and seeing the turtles and going to the beaches.
I love snorkeling. It's my favorite. I still look back at it and I want to keep doing it every day. The fact that we had the opportunity to do it so often and to embed it into so many of our classes, and doing it in Australia and Fiji and Bali.
I remember in Australia for our marine conservation class, we got to go to the Great Barrier Reef.
So we drove up the coast and then took a ferry out to Heron Island, which is a research center on an island in the Great Barrier Reef.
That was my favorite trip, literally ever. Great Barrier Reef was the most magical thing that has ever happened. I was jazzed the entire time we were there. I was so happy.
Oh my gosh, the marine ecosystem and the marine lifestyle and getting that kind of education, it blew me away. It blew me away.
We were there for 3 or 4 days maybe, but we got to snorkel and speak with the researchers and help turtles hatch eggs and get released out into the sea.
I have a video of me and Alex and us being that was once in a lifetime. That's never gonna happen again.
Seeing the turtles go in the water and the bioluminescence is lighting up with they taking their steps into the water. Oh my gosh.
We got to swim with the most beautiful fish. I got to swim with some sharks. I think any good class day is snorkeling on a boat.
It was just such a lovely time of bonding with my classmates and learning from these researchers, seeing what research they were doing.
Definitely the most unique class experience I had was IENK, which is Innovative Encounters with Nature and Knowledge, taught by Nigel and Soenke.
And Nigel and I have taught this class for many, many years together. And it's amazing because it's an eco-philosophy class that really explores the question, what is nature? And it does do that not just as a intellectual curiosity, but as a really important foundational question for all of us, for our lives and for how we live on this planet sustainably with others.
I don't think a lot of us knew that it was grounded as a philosophy course. So we went into it, and I think we all found that out a little bit later. And when we did, it clicked in our brain. We're like, oh, that's why we were questioning the basis of the universe while on a camping trip in the middle of, the outback in Australia. We're like, we get it now, but it was such a cool experience.
Basically, every class would be an excursion, And before the class, you would have a reading where it would talk about some concept, a lot of them having to do with connecting with nature, asking questions that when you read them, like you're being like, this is an insane question. Like, are you joking? Like, do we really need to talk about this?
What is nature?
Yeah, exactly. What is nature? Like,
the whole class would be outdoors. There was no part of his class that was indoors other than the readings we would do to prepare for it.
We would take hikes all over these beautiful parts of Australia and some in Fiji as well.
Every week we're out in the field hiking through a forest, snorkeling on a reef, jumping off a waterfall, and then sitting down in the field and discussing these amazing eco-cultural, eco-philosophical texts together. It's a mind-blowing class. I can't believe I get to teach it. Our students can't believe they get to take it. It's the best.
Easily my favorite class. It's kind of everybody's favorite class.
Another class I really, really like is the Activism, Social Movements and Political Change class that I teach. Because in this class, I want to, again, provide students with a sense of hope and possibility by having them examine how different social movements have made an impact and a difference.
Our whole education prior to Australia and to this class is learning the problems, learning the issues, learning why they're bad and how they intersect with each other. And then this class in particular is how are we going to solve that? As either one person or as one small community, how are we going to do that from a local lens that can turn global?
All of our courses are scaffolded on one another to ensure that students are moving through their writing, they're moving through their research, and we're slowly introducing things as they go along. So yes, we have in the first year where students are learning to write for impact, or they're learning, how to compose a research essay or whatever it may be. And then they're diving into a little bit more of that quantitative and qualitative research in their second and third year. But the hope is by the time they reach Byron Bay, that they've already begun to think, okay, you know what, I can actually work towards that senior thesis goal, because it seems like such a big project when you first get here, but everything really scaffolds on itself in a really nice way.
Starting at the beginning of your junior year, you have a class called Global Studies Seminar. And this is basically the class where you are starting to develop your senior thesis research. And it starts by figuring out what you're interested in, essentially. It's like throughout the past 2 years, your freshman and sophomore year, you've been exposed to many things. And so you have the option to do a kind of proposal paper, a briefing paper on a global issue of your choice to see if that's actually what you want to do research on.
So after this first semester of reading the literature, getting a good grounding and understanding of the issue and the global discourse around it, in the spring semester of the junior year, our students then start to move from the problem towards the solution and from the global towards the local, because they're having a research methods class in which they're developing a research proposal for their senior year.
And I don't think I would have been able to survive writing my thesis if it had not been for the advanced research method class. And it made it less terrifying and made me feel like I was capable of doing something that I think would be considered master's level writing.
Deciding on the research topic with Global is a pretty long process, but the professors help you a lot along the way, and I'm really thankful for that.
My workaround for wanting to study everything was how many subjects can I cram into one research topic? And so my specific research was based in Indonesia. It was looking at how the music industry can be a vessel for climate action.
For me, I ended up researching volunteer initiatives in environmental conservation. So I researched both volunteer and the psychological input that makes people want to volunteer, and then how environmental conservation organizations work.
By the end of my junior year, I had that I wanted to be researching access to emergency medical care in a low resource area. Indonesia just really intrigued me when we went the first time, and I had a connection with one of the organizations that we visited when we were in Indonesia, and I ultimately got an internship with them. That's Copernic.
I just never thought I would be that interested in research and be honestly excited about it. And then I was really excited about it. It was something that was a surprise to me. I don't know. I really enjoyed it way more than I thought I would. And I think it was because they gave us so many opportunities to really follow something that we were passionate about.
So that's a really important preparation. And alongside that is the preparation towards more autonomy and independence. Again, taking these steps towards a graduation where they're then able to walk and land in a new job, in a new city, in a new country, and know how to handle themselves, know how to navigate the unknown, know how to familiarize themselves, build relationships, build friendships, build networks of support. And I think the third year plays a really important role in preparing students for doing that in their senior year.
There's a very clear progression in Global where they're trying to lead you to that senior year IRIS semester where you feel completely prepared to go deeper on your chosen topic, and all of junior year is preparing you for that and trying to get you to the place where when you show up in country and location, you know exactly what you're there for and how to thrive as a researcher.
You know how moms will like put vegetables into baked goods to get their kids to eat more vegetables. I feel like that's kind of what year 3 was for the thesis. They were teaching me these things that I was going to need and I didn't even know. And so by the time I got to year 4 and I was doing my research, I really did know what I was doing.
IRIS is when you finally get to conduct your own qualitative research that you designed in any country of your choosing, in any organization of your choosing as an undergraduate.
I guess I could say the international research and internship semester is really like the crown jewel of the global experience, because students get to investigate an issue that they're passionate about in a particular place.
We help with their placements for their senior year. We work with them to make sure that they're taken care of from a housing perspective, from meals, from transportation, whatever it is. We want to make sure that everything is seamless. We've got over 150 partners around the globe that we've worked with, and we will place students. We like to place them where we have centers, but we have many times where students will be placed where there are no centers, and that's okay. But we still provide the same level of support through our partnerships.
I had a unique experience with my IRIS semester because I chose to continue living at a center. I was living in the Australian center, so I actually, while I was separated from my class and my grade level, I was living with the grade level below me. So I was still surrounded in a bubble of peers, which was the best of both worlds, honestly. I had friends to hang out with, but academically, I was completely independent and doing my own thing.
For my IRIS semester, I went back to the village of Waitambu, Fiji, and it was my first time alone in my entire degree. Our entire cohort was across different countries and in different places. None of us were together, but we were still so connected and in touch every day.
I chose to go to Wanganui in New Zealand because we had toured this organization, Te Oronganui, and I really liked the people. So I knew that I was going into an organization with safe people that I liked.
I ended up doing an independent research location for IRIS. It wasn't one of the locations offered to us by the school. I ended up going to London, and the process was honestly pretty easy.
So I chose to go to Mexico, which is a country that does not have any relations with the program. So I was in charge of finding a school that offered Spanish classes, of finding my internship, of finding housing, and of really learning about the country and learning about Mexico City so that I was prepared to spend 3 months alone there.
My senior advisors and the school in general was pretty supportive, as long as I had the reasoning to back it up and the justification that it was a safe space for me to travel to, and that I was capable of functioning by myself and taking care of myself in a new space, which is basically what we were trained to do.
In Mexico City, I interned at an organization called Programa Casa de Refugiados, and they support immigrants and refugees who have come to resettle in Mexico City.
I was also an intern with the Waitambu Marine Park, and that is the marine park in the village in Fiji, and it's part of the village's income and also part of their dedication to ecological preservation.
I was doing an internship with female founders.
The Returning is a nonprofit, Aboriginal women-led organization, and it focuses on creating retreat spaces, cultural revitalization groups.
My internship was with the Partnerships and Business Development team at Copernic, which is a research and development lab in Bali that focuses on social and environmental issues.
I was interning with the International Institute for Peace, Vienna, which It's based in Vienna.
Simultaneously with that 15-week international internship, our students are embarking on a research project that is IRB approved, so it's a really serious university level research project.
It allows students two things, to gain professional experience with an organization working on the issue that they're passionate about, thus exposing them to potential career pathways and giving them that important experience that employers and graduate schools are looking for on students' resumes. And secondly, that research project, that deep dive into understanding an issue and really doing graduate level field research as an undergraduate.
For my IRIS semester, I chose to do my research in Bali, Indonesia, for a couple of reasons. One is that I just really love that location, and I had kind of been set on it from the beginning, but also it made sense for the research I was doing. This was research around men's groups as a potential solution or intervention to loneliness in men.
For my Irish semester, I was in Vienna, and I was doing my research on resources and aid for gender-based violence victims.
I researched the portrayal of Aboriginal community groups in the media.
So my research ended up being focused on how urban green spaces, so mostly parks, can help cities adapt to the climate crisis.
So my research is all on creative, artistic ways and communal and spiritual ways in which people can connect again, reconnect.
My research topic is on sex education and the ways teachers navigate it with the tensions that come up in everyday classroom practice, especially focused on the digital reality these kids live in and how they navigate these tensions for violence prevention.
I ended up doing participant observation as I was a student in the IENK class. And from there, looking into climate pedagogy and the impact it had on the students, that was really fascinating.
So for my IRIS, I was in Mas, which is just outside Ubud on the island of Bali in Indonesia. And my research was on the ambulance systems in the area and how the systems functioned, and primarily about the community's perceptions of the ambulance services as well as the providers' perspectives.
The research itself, I think, was really fun. I really enjoyed giving the interviews. I got to talk to some really cool people. And everyone in my internship was also super helpful in connecting me with the kind of people that I wanted to include.
This semester really pushes you to become independent in every regard, to organize your own classes across international time zones, to keeping track of an entire thesis that you designed and how you're going to prove that. Again, field research, it's got to be organized, so you've got to organize it, as well as keeping up a professional front while working for an organization that you're interning at, and they have their own requests of you, as well as being alone for 3 months on the other side of the world. Whereas, of course, you've traveled a lot throughout Global, but you've always had your group of people.
You're not just in a foreign country messing around, you're in a foreign country doing work and doing research, and you have legitimate responsibilities that could genuinely impact people's lives if you published your research or if you build on your research in the future.
I learned some really valuable information, and I think it really set up a whole nother path for my life that I wouldn't have thought about at all and would have actively avoided at every chance if it wasn't for that semester.
IRIS is the reason that I want to go into research after I graduate from my master's program, because I had such a good time doing it. And I think it's something that I could really make a career out of.
So the Capstone semester builds on the work of IRIS, of the International Research and Internship semester, by taking the field research that students undertake during IRIS and turning it into a senior thesis.
For a lot of students, the production of a thesis at this sort of undergraduate level is a daunting task, but from, I would say, all of the students that I've worked with over the years, it's a identifying of, yes, I can do this. It's a challenge. It means that they have to immerse themselves in academia in a really embodied way. It's a very personalised education and research experience, but I think it's often seen to be more daunting than it is. Every student says, you know, almost every student said, I didn't think I could do it, but they have achieved it, and I think that's a foundation for achieving success in their next stages of life.
Coming to New York for my capstone semester and reconnecting with my class was a really nice experience.
Yeah, it was really good to see everyone after Iris and being able to like ask them about their experiences and share the things we did, because everyone's experience was so different.
Coming back together, it really reminded me that, I mean, these are my people and these are people that I have gone through so much with, that I think it gave me a moment to really appreciate my cohort and appreciate New York City too, because I think at the end of the day, I mean, Mexico City was overwhelming, but New York City it's just a whole different beast.
For me, it was really interesting because I went from a village with no electricity and hot water to the city that never sleeps, and it was one of the most overwhelming transitions of my entire life, most certainly.
I think partially it's because I was in Indonesia the time before it, and it's a very different setting, environment, culture, all of that. Very different pace of life, going from Bali, literally living on an island, to Brooklyn.
So the classes that you do during this time are wrapping up your thesis and helping you to apply to jobs and support you in the next phase of your life. So you're preparing for that, but also wrapping up and writing your actual thesis, which is the bulk of the work that you will do, and takes a very long time.
Now you have one semester to finish it all, write it all up, code every bit of research you just did, organize it, analyze it. To me, that was the most overwhelming part. I do much better with field research rather than bringing it all together.
It's hard. I mean, you're writing a full research paper based on, research that you did yourself, which is not super typical for an undergraduate degree. You usually don't need to do your own research. And I think that stands out.
But we also recognize that not everyone wants to express what they learn in an academic realm. And so we have alternatives for students who might want to do an arts and communications projects instead. So we have some students who might produce a documentary or a podcast or an art installation to share what they have learned in their research alongside a critical written exegesis that situates it in the scholarly field. And likewise, students can do that too in terms of entrepreneurship. So students might use what they've learned from their research to actually build a business plan or write a grant proposal alongside an exegesis again. And some students have used that as a springboard to then start their own company.
I chose to do an arts-based thesis where I created a documentary, essentially, or a film about my research. And this was something I did because I kind of imagined that not many people were going to have the chance or the desire, really, to read a 60-page paper, whereas a 20-minute video, I think I could send to just about anybody, and they might skip through, watch a little bit here and there, but just as a way to kind of share the research that I've been doing over the past few years to a wider audience.
So I feel like I was awarded or allowed the space to present my research in a way that honors me and how I would choose to present that knowledge if given the option. Some people want to write a 70-page thesis. I'm not one of them. I'm much more of an interactive art installation kind of girl.
Yeah, so I'm at the point right now where I've written a good portion, but it's all a mess. So the rest of the semester is going to be dedicated to editing and to fine-tuning.
But then you start working on it, and it's kind of easier than anything I've ever written.
I would emphasize how satisfying of a process it is to actually organize and write a thesis.
Seeing the threads from the junior research seminar and the advanced research seminar and the IRIS and the capstone, everything kind of coming together into this one thing that I made from start to finish was really, really rewarding.
I'm excited to present about it, and I'm excited that it's done. I already printed out my whole paper, and I'm just like, you know, we completed a thesis as undergraduates. It's crazy. It's amazing.
The university professors tell us from the beginning that your research project is more in-depth than the average undergraduate research project.
Yeah, I think it was sometime in Australia that one of the professors was like, no undergrad does this. Yeah. All of the alums have said who've done master's programs have said those were easier.
But it wasn't until I arrived at the National Conference for Undergraduate Research and saw a real-life example of what the typical undergraduate project is that I really understood the difference.
I think what Enker really highlighted for me was how different the quality of research we were doing was compared to the quality of research from other institutions. And that's not a dig on other institutions, but to be an undergraduate student who had completely original work from a previously unstudied area of Indonesia.
It hadn't been presented before. Like, no one had really done the kind of research that I was pursuing. So that was also super interesting because I felt like I was in the precipice of something really big. To present it was one of the proudest moments that I had in Global.
Working so hard on one singular thing and being able to finally talk about it felt really cool.
Really, it's the easiest thing ever. You spend 3 months straight working and then 3 additional months writing about the work. So at this point, you've had half a year of thinking about it, talking about it, and writing about it. And so you can give your whole presentation with your eyes closed without looking at any notes. Like, you've been living and breathing this information for so long that it just comes naturally.
It's amazing. You get to about the middle of April and people are like, oh my God, I did not realize how much of a serious thing this was. Like, this is real. It is a master's level thesis that you're building up to.
I felt like Global was like leaps and bounds ahead of like where we should have been or where our peers were from other schools.
That's what kind of drew me to Global in the first place, the fact that it's so non-traditional and so unique. So of course the research we're going to be doing is unlike anything else as well.
Not a flex or anything, but kind of. But I mean, it does speak for itself.
I always get asked whether I'm doing a master's or whether I'm part of some sort of like advanced, higher than an undergraduate degree program.
And she went, oh, well, aren't you in a PhD program? And I said, no, ma'am, I am. This is my undergraduate research. And she said, you just give us a call anytime you're ready to come get your PhD here, okay?
So during your capstone, you are doing another internship, hopefully building on the one that you had before, or your research, or tied to what you want to do after you graduate from Global.
It bookends very beautifully with that first semester where they're holding you very lightly in community and preparing you to be a student, and then they do the same again at the end where they're preparing you to go out into the real world and apply to jobs. And all of this is coupled with an internship that you get to do and apply to anything that you want. I ended up working at a marketing agency on Fifth Avenue. I wore a suit every day to work and then realized that I don't like working in an office, but it was great. I got to learn about myself.
So my current capstone internship is I'm doing communications and operations for Vision for the Future.
For my capstone semester, I'm interning at CHIPS, which is an organization that aims to feed New Yorkers.
I did an internship in New York City with the Mass Transit Theater.
And so I was able to find an internship with an architectural and interior design agency.
I was a sustainability and ESG intern for Go Overseas.
Again, the cool thing about Global is that you have the opportunity to do anything you want as far as your interest with a lot of the different assignments or requirements. It's like, I want to do an internship, but I want to do it about filmmaking because that's something that I like. And so for my internship, I'm actually creating this documentary. This is like the entire internship that I'm doing right now is working on this film for about 200 hours, conducting a whole bunch of interviews.
My internship during my capstone was with the Sabin Vaccine Institute, which is a nonprofit organization based in the States that works on promoting vaccine equity around the globe. And I worked with their partnerships and business development team, which directly tied back to my work at Copernic. And I actually ended up working for Sabin for a year and a half after my internship. I moved into more permanent positions with them until I got into my master's program.
I think Global prepares you for life in a way that not many other programs could possibly do.
Yeah, Global has absolutely changed the way I see the world because this chance to live in so many different places, so many different continents, hear so many different stories, so many different backgrounds. I mean, it's helped me become more open-minded to all these new ways of thinking, all these new paths I can take and ways to live your life.
For the rest of my life, I will have a perspective on how to travel and how I want to approach it.
So no part of the world will simply be a tourist destination or a pretty beach. There's always something deeper, there's always a history, there's always issues.
Once I started Global, like, it was a love for learning that came back to me, and it was a love for life that came back to me, and like a hope that like really like has like stuck with me.
But not a hope that's built on hoping that somebody else will solve the issues of the world, but a sense of hope that's generated and engendered by the experiences they have had working with others to create change. And then finally, of confidence in themselves as being agents of change, of being able to play their role in working with others to make a difference, and speaking confidently about their experiences, about their research, and about what they've learned. So seeing that kind of growth is really really pleasing as an educator. That you feel together with your colleagues, you've done your job, and you know these students are ready for the world.
Yeah, it really, I would say, is one of the most motivating parts of working here, is seeing that growth over the 4 years.
I mean, what skills don't I have because of Global? You know, it impacted every aspect of my life, from being able to interact with people from different cultures and in different languages, to doing research, to figuring out how to get around in a new city. Like, there's no way I would be the person that I am today without all of the things that Global taught me.
The whole senior year experience has helped me develop also my professional skills as well. I think Global's emphasis on writing papers and presentations has made me a stronger communicator. And also its non-traditional curriculum's it's made me a stronger critical thinker, I'd like to think as well.
I think as a person now, I feel very confident that anywhere you put me in the world, I can make a new friend. Anywhere you put me in the world, I can learn something new and experience that space with a tremendous amount of like richness and connection.
You're put in a lot of uncomfortable situations in Global. You're in an international school. There's a lot of times that there's a language barrier, there's a cultural barrier, there's so many freaking barriers. And if you can connect with someone and really get to know them and really build a relationship despite all of that, then everything else in when I'm back home is like the easiest situation to be in.
Global really teaches you how to talk to people, because you travel everywhere and you speak to people from every different background, and you learn how to respect their thoughts and their experiences and their mind.
I mean, like, just all the skills I feel like one needs. You learn how to be more independent. You learn how to be more conscious and aware of yourself on this earth. You learn how to be more giving and empathetic.
Yeah, just practically it teaches you so many life skills. You're there fending for yourself with the community, but you're still like, you have to figure out a lot of logistical aspects, and it makes you more resilient.
There are the sillier things that I would not have been able to do without Global. Learning how to ride a bike, wouldn't know how to do. Learning how to swim, would not know how to do. How to hike, how to rock climb. Like, yes, they're silly, but like there are life lessons that like I went into the school not knowing. Like, I went into the school afraid, and I left a whole new person. When I came home and I was like, oh yeah, I'm able to do these things now. And I felt so much more independent. I know it's so unserious and it's kind of silly.
Global teaches you real life skills, and that's why I love this program. It's a well-rounded education, not just academically, but for your being, for who you are.
It's very sad. Everything's coming to an end, and obviously Global is unlike any other college where it really, I mean, everyone says it's the end of an era, but it really is, you know, the traveling and the community and everything, I don't think can ever really be replicated.
I think most importantly, I feel prepared. I feel prepared to be out of school and like going into the quote real world.
I have direction. I know what I'm interested in, and I know what I care about, and I know how I can help.
I want to probably do some research grad program. I'm not sure where or when or how, but I'll figure it out.
I do plan on pursuing graduate school. I'd like to pursue foreign studies or international advocacy, maybe policy and something in that realm.
Yeah, I think our students, when we look at what the outcomes, like what are our alumni doing, It really is a broad range of careers.
The LIU Global degree, I think, allows or enables, emboldens students to do whatever they want. I think it really sets students up for success in their own parameters of success.
The plus to me is the fact that they're graduating not only with the capacity to live in different cultures, to navigate different political, economic, and social systems, but also that they're able to articulate for themselves how their experiences have built their knowledge and skills.
Oftentimes, they want to get right back out there. We have many, many students who will return to where they did their internships for their IRIS semester, which is exciting to see. But I've also been really impressed by the graduate school placements. We have a lot of Ivy League placements. We have a lot of students who are doing their doctoral work, a lot of students who are doing PhDs in the UK in particular. But we also see a lot of students who get accepted into programs for international education or for kind of this global education, international relations work. And what I've seen mostly is that, if you just do a traditional IR degree or a traditional political science degree, it's not nearly as impressive to jobs, careers, admissions counselors, whatever it may be, as the fact that you are actually in these locations. They say that study abroad and having international experience for a 2-week program, if you have that on your resume, actually makes you more appealing than 25% of the other applicants just by having that international experience. You can imagine from a global perspective, if you have all that on your resume, just how much more exciting it's going to be. And I always tell people too, what really makes it very different from the other college experiences is that think about when you get your interview for one of these jobs or one of these graduate programs, the wealth of experience and knowledge you have to talk about and what you can bring up and where you've been and what you've seen. There's so much that you can do with it. And it's been really exciting for me just to see kind of where these graduating classes have gone. And I cannot wait to see what's in the future because it's only going to get better and better for us with Global.
I can say with certainty that I would not have gotten into my master's program if I hadn't gone to Global. Not to toot my own horn, but this is a pretty prestigious program. It's highly selective. I think it's 2% acceptance rate. And to get into it without a medical degree or something like that is not an insignificant thing. And I think the fact that I am the only social sciences major that made it into this program speaks to the strength of the Global program, right? That I'm up against people who have full doctors that didn't get into this program, but I did because I stuck out and I had such an interesting background and I had such a deep engagement with communities and cultures and languages that really appealed to my program.
I had applied to the New York City Economic Development Corporation under Women.NYC. They wanted somebody that had their master's and beyond. And I was like, I'm going to tell you exactly why I'm the best person for this. And they took a chance on me. They were like, okay, you bring such a unique resume, and we never see anybody quite like you. We don't see a lot of people who have traveled and studied in all these countries. We haven't seen anybody who's done international work this early on in their career. We want to take a chance. And I was the youngest person ever hired for my corporation. And I've now been working there for 3 years and been promoted twice over. Yeah, so I don't think I would have been able to do that without Global at all.
So I am currently getting my master's in teaching social studies at Columbia. And I think, it's a really competitive program to get into. After I had gotten accepted and I was speaking to my advisor, she was like, oh yeah, no, we accepted you because of your experience at Global. That was so unique and you stood out from the other candidates so much that it was just Global definitely got me to where I was.
I finished my first master's in education, but I applied to a second one that was more research focused. And I do believe the reason I was able to get into it was because of my experiences at Global, both my research experiences, but then also the skills that you learned being in other countries and talking to people who are from cultures different than yours.
Global very much provided me not only with the connections to get the job I'm working in now, but I'm able to bring a very different lens to the work I do because I've sat at the intersection of trying to solve global issues with like arts-based communication strategies, which is a lot of what I do now.
LIU Global changed my life. This is my magpie. This is a baby. Like I said, after graduation, I came back to Australia. I'm now on a visa that lets me work and live here for 3 years. And so, yeah.
Since Global, I went back to my community in Rockaway, and we have a huge mosquito problem. It's like a big problem where I wear a mosquito suit every time I step foot outside. So after Global, I was like, okay, what will community activists do? Like, I've been working with one for the past year. I'm just gonna act like that person. So now we're in the process of getting a mosquito magnet, which my community has been fighting for like 20 plus years. So that's been like a big accomplishment of mine. Following that same belief, I've started my own nonprofit for young female students of color in my local high school to provide scholarships.
So I've been an elementary bilingual teacher for the past 3 years, which has been lovely. Teach third grade, dual language program. So I teach the kids fully in Spanish.
Now I live in New York and I work at JP Morgan. I do syndicated loans, which is not at all what I expected to be in, but I really like it. And yeah, I've been living here and doing that for about 1.5 years. Last October, I got promoted, which was awesome. So it's been really great to be invested in a career that's exciting.
Obviously, we're incredible as people because we've had these really amazing experiences, but we look great on paper too, right? We've been to all these countries. We've learned all these different languages. We've done this original research. Global opens doors for you that no other university can, because you just are getting experiences that nobody else gets. It's as simple as that.
I think if I could tell my freshman self one thing, it would be to approach everything with more of an open heart.
You're never gonna like sit back and be like, wow, I wish I didn't take like advantage of that. Like, I wish I didn't take advantage of that opportunity.
There's this like Venezuelan expression where you're like, if you really want to enjoy something, like it's gonna like you take the juice out of it. It's like, you know, you have an orange and you squeeze it, like squeeze the juice out of it as much as you can. So I would tell my freshman self that.
I would go back, not to my freshman self, probably like my high school senior self, and I would have told her to do it scared. I had learned about Global. I was so interested, and I left it on the burner because I was so scared. I thought, okay, this fear means I'm not supposed to be doing it. No, that's just a normal human reaction, and I wish I would have told myself, just do it. Do it scared, do it afraid, do it nervous, just do it and get it done, because it changed my life.
There are some times when I look back and I'm like, dang, I missed out because I was just scared of doing it. And there's things I've looked about and been like, I was so terrified to be doing that, and I did it, and now look at where I am. And so I would say yes to it all and to do all of it scared.
I would tell her, be brave, take risks, and allow the unexpected.
Even when it gets hard, especially when it gets hard, you just have to keep pushing through, because you're going to come out of it a braver, stronger, kinder person.
If I could, I would tell my freshman self that I'm proud of you. I think that's what I'd say, because I know she was scared. I know she didn't know what to expect and thought she was taking a big risk by signing up for something as crazy as Global, but she did it anyway. She kicked herself out of her comfort zone.
Yeah, I think I would also give her a hug and be like, yeah, this is gonna be okay.
I think she also just needed a hug and to be told that it would be okay. And I think that's what I would do. I think I would say that you will learn everything that you need to know and more, and have the capacity to learn beyond that, and that it will be okay. Hold lightly to expectations, be nice to yourself and to others, and it's going to be just fine.
I would tell her not to get distracted by minor or temporary kind of situations of discomfort, and that everything that happens throughout Global, everything helped shape me into who I am today, and everything can really be reconceptualized as a positive experience because I learned.
I just knew it was going to change me. I didn't really exactly know how, but I knew it was absolutely the right choice for me, and that whatever was going to happen was going to be 100% something that needs to happen, and I knew I was going to learn and grow and just become one of the best versions of myself that I can be.
Nothing good is easy.
And global certainly wasn't easy, but it was the right lessons that I needed at the right times. And especially academically, trust the process. They know what they're doing. You might not believe them at first because it sounds chaotic and big and scary, but they know what they're doing. And I feel well educated. I feel incredibly well educated coming out of LIU Global.
You're not going to regret something if you tried it. You're going to regret it if you don't.
I would tell my freshman self not to lose my favorite t-shirt in Thailand because I really miss that t-shirt. I really do. And I have no regrets. That's about it.
I would have done this degree in a heartbeat, but there's a caveat on that. I would need to have known about it.
I would have loved to do this degree when I went to college 25 years ago. And the truth is I didn't know about it.
I think I would have needed to have talked to somebody who had already done the degree, because I think even the explanation of what is happening in the degree seems slightly unreal. Everybody that I ever talk to and explain what do you do, what's the degree about, we talk about the global degree, the 4 years, it's like, that's amazing, I'd love to have done that. I certainly would have too, but I'm not sure if I would have believed it.
This experience speaks to so many different people who want something different, who want something out of the norm, for whom, you know, as one of our alumni put it, those students for whom one classroom, one country, and one point of view are not enough. Who want to experience more and see more and be more fully human in their education and have a truly global education. So I believe getting the word out to as many people as possible is vital. Yeah, I hope that this documentary can play a key role in that.
I probably would have thought it was a scam. It's a wonderful degree, and yes, I would do it in a heartbeat.
We are real, we do exist, and it's life-changing. It's worthwhile, and you're not gonna know until you come. There's not enough pamphlets, not enough testimonials. I would know, I've looked at every single one of them, that can really describe how unique of an experience this is.
If you're considering joining Global, do it. It's the best educational program you will ever find.
There's no other program in this world that can live up to what Global has been able to give its students.
Anyone who's considering Global, I would absolutely encourage them to do it and to take the risk.
Take the leap, commit, do it.
I would say do it.
To do it. Go for it. Apply and just see what happens.
I would say if you're someone that wants to discover who they are and what it is you're interested in, this is the program for you. If you want to know how the world works, this is the program for you. If you want to know who you are in the world, this is the program for you.
Like, no matter what, it's gonna change you, and you're going to learn so much and experience so much.
I think if you are a motivated student who cares about the world, who wants to experience the world in a very deep, unique, rich, and experiential way, Global is a beautiful space and opportunity that can be once in a lifetime.
You're only going to get to live the one time, and if I could live multiple times, I would do Global every time.
When you're in an environment that people are so passionate and they like love life so deeply, you fall in love with life so deeply.
Even, you know, the toughest moments that I've been through, I would relive it all just to be able to go through this program again. I think it's changed my life drastically, and not only I can see it, but I think the loved ones around me can see how I've kind of blossomed throughout this program.
To any prospective student, I would say that I cannot imagine a better thing that you could spend your time doing. And that the gifts of what you will learn in this program far outweigh whatever other degree that you can get. And that this program is entirely what you make of it. So if you are prepared to show up every day, real and raw and ready to learn and take whatever life throws at you, then this is absolutely what you should spend your time doing. And that I can't imagine a better thing.
With Global, you're gonna get something extraordinary. So it's the harder choice because you're choosing something that's different, right? You're going to be away from your family, you're going to be in unfamiliar places, but you're getting something that's so much more valuable than the traditional experience. You're going to learn a lot more about yourself, about the world, than you would on any college campus in the United States. So my advice would be to take the leap, to make the brave choice, not the easy one, and you will be rewarded for it.
If you're scared or nervous, good. That means you're aware of reality and you're taking a really big step. And if you choose to come to this school, you should be proud of yourself for having the courage to take that step because it will change your life.
My advice for anyone considering joining Global is that we want to talk about it. I think a lot of people have to navigate the college process on their own with their families, but maybe with some college guidance, whatever it is. This is a program where we typically meet with students and families 2 to 3 times before they commit. It is a big decision, and it's a program that is different from any other, and we really want to make sure that people feel comfortable with this decision. So I think the main thing is the advice, just reach out. We really want to talk to you. We want to talk through it. We always schedule individual meetings. This isn't some kind of meat market where we're just bringing people in. We're trying to create these cohesive cohorts of people who are going to be able to work together and that they're representing all different walks of life. So the biggest advice is just reach out because we want to talk.
I think it's crucial, in fact, that everyone joins LIU Global.